The stars outside the viewport looked calm, almost gentle, but Elia's Cade knew better. Space never showed its danger until it was too late. The human exploration ship Ardent Reach drifted without power, its hull scarred and blackened. Emergency lights blinked weakly through the corridors. The battle had lasted less than 3 minutes. No warnings, no demands, just a sudden shadow, larger than anything humanity had built, blocking the stars and tearing through shields like paper. Elias had been on the bridge when the first impact hit. He remembered the sound more than anything else: metal screaming, consoles exploding, people shouting names that would never be answered again. He remembered grabbing a fallen officer and dragging her toward the escape corridor. He remembered the lights dying, then silence. Now he sat on the cold floor of an alien ship, wrists locked inside smooth metal restraints that hummed softly with energy. The air smelled sharp and clean, nothing like the recycled scent of human vessels. The walls curved in strange angles, glowing faintly with lines of moving light. He was alone. At least he thought he was. Heavy footsteps echoed from somewhere beyond his vision. Slow, controlled. Not rushed. Elias lifted his head and forced himself to breathe evenly. Panic would not help him. Panic never helped anyone. The doorway opened without sound. The being who entered was taller than any human he had ever seen, her form wrapped in layered armor that looked grown rather than built. The surface shifted subtly, like living stone. Her face was alien but symmetrical, sharp lines where humans had soft curves, eyes like dark glass reflecting the light of the room. She studied him without speaking. Elias met her gaze. He had learned long ago that fear shown openly was an invitation. Two more figures stood behind her, clearly guards, their weapons held ready. With a single gesture, she sent them away. The door closed again, sealing them inside. She stepped closer. Up close, Elias could feel the pressure of her presence, like standing too near a massive engine. Power radiated from her, not just physical strength but authority. This was not a soldier following orders. This was someone who gave them. "You are human," she said. Her voice was low, calm, and surprisingly clear. The translation came instantly through the air itself. "Yes," Elias replied. His throat felt dry. "My name is Elias Cade. I am a diplomatic officer." Her head tilted slightly as if the word interested her. "Your vessel resisted." "We defended ourselves," Elias said. "We did not know who you were. Now you do." He almost smiled at that. Almost. She reached down and deactivated the restraints with a touch. Elias did not move right away. He waited, watching her hands, her posture, her eyes. When nothing happened, he slowly stood. Even standing, he barely reached her shoulder. "Why am I alive?" he asked. That question finally brought a change in her expression, something like amusement but colder. "Because I chose it." She turned and walked deeper into the chamber. The room opened into something that did not look like a cell. Soft light filled the space. The walls glowed with slow-moving patterns. At the center was a large raised platform, wide and solid, covered with dark fabric. A bed, Elias realized, though not built for humans. She stopped beside it and looked back at him. "Come." Every instinct screamed danger, but Elias had survived long enough to know when resistance was useless. He followed, step by careful step. When he reached the platform, she moved with sudden speed. One moment she stood still, the next she had lifted him with effortless strength and pulled him onto the surface. He gasped, more from surprise than pain. She held him there, one hand pressed against his shoulder, not crushing but firm enough that he knew escape was impossible. She leaned closer. "Mine," she whispered. The word was soft, final. Then she did not let go. Elias' heart pounded. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. He searched her face for signs of mockery or cruelty but found neither. Her eyes were focused, intent, as if she were completing a necessary task. "This is a mistake," he said carefully. "If you want leverage, I am not." "You misunderstand," she interrupted. I do not take leverage, I take responsibility. Her hand remained on him, heavy and warm even through the fabric of his uniform. Slowly, deliberately, she eased the pressure just enough for him to breathe easier, but not enough to allow movement. "You are under my claim," she said. "By our law, what is claimed is protected." Protected, the word echoed in his mind. "From what?" he asked. "From everyone," she answered, "including me." That made no sense. "Then why?" "Because if I do not claim you," she said, "others will take you, and they will not protect." She finally stepped back. Elias sat up slowly, every muscle tense. He was not restrained, but the invisible weight of her words held him in place. "My people are hunters," she continued. "Your species has drawn attention. You travel far. You survive longer than expected. That makes you valuable." Elias thought of Earth, of fragile colonies scattered across hostile systems, of humans pushing outward because staying still had never been in their nature. "Valuable how?" he asked. She looked at him again, truly looked this time. "As prey or as partners?" "The galaxy has not decided." "And you?" Elias asked. "I decide," she said simply. A low vibration ran through the ship, distant but powerful. Elias felt it through the platform beneath him. "Your vessel's survivors will be returned," she said. "Your world will be left untouched." "For how long?" Elias asked. Her silence was answer enough. She turned away, then paused. "Rest. You will need clarity in the days ahead." As she left, the room felt suddenly empty despite its light and warmth. Elias lay back against the platform, staring up at patterns he did not understand, his mind racing. He was alive. Earth was safe. And somehow, impossibly, humanity's future now rested on a single word whispered in a language older than the stars. Mine. Elias woke slowly, not because of pain, but because of silence. On a human ship there was always sound. A soft hum from engines, air moving through vents, distant footsteps, the quiet noise of people living close together. Here, there was almost nothing. The air felt still, perfectly balanced, as if the room itself decided how much movement was allowed. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him glowed with slow, shifting light. The patterns were not random. They moved with purpose, like a language written in motion. He lay still for a long moment, reminding himself where he was and why panic would solve nothing. He sat up. He was alone. The platform beneath him was large enough that he could stretch out fully without reaching the edge. His uniform had been cleaned while he slept, the torn fabric repaired with material he did not recognize. His boots sat neatly on the floor beside the platform. They could have restrained him again. They did not. That worried him more than chains would have. He stood and walked toward the wall. As he approached, a section of it changed shape, opening into a doorway. Beyond it was a wide corridor, high and curved, glowing with the same soft light. Figures moved in the distance, tall, armored shapes, their steps steady and unhurried. No one reacted to his presence. Elias stepped out. The floor felt solid beneath his feet, slightly warm, responding to his weight. He walked slowly, keeping his hands visible. His heart beat faster with every step, but he forced his breathing to stay calm. He was not being escorted. That meant he was being watched. He followed the corridor as it opened into a larger space, something like a command deck. Massive transparent panels showed space outside. Stars stretched into slow-moving lines as the ship traveled faster than anything human technology could reach. Alien officers stood at stations grown from the floor itself, their hands moving through glowing shapes and symbols. Conversations flowed in low voices, sharp and efficient. Elias understood none of the words, but he understood the tone. This was a warship. A ripple passed through the room. Heads turned. Bodies shifted. They had noticed him. The reaction was not fear, but something colder. Interest mixed with anger. A few stepped closer before stopping, as if held back by an invisible line. Whispers spread. Human. Claimed. Unworthy. Elias did not know their language, but the translation systems carried enough meaning for him to feel it. He straightened his posture. If he was going to stand here, he would stand as a representative of Earth, not as something dragged from a wreck. A familiar presence pressed against the space behind him before he heard her steps. She moved past him and into the center of the deck. The room changed instantly. Voices fell silent. Every alien present turned toward her, lowering their heads slightly. She did not look at Elias. She did not need to. "He is under my protection," she said, her voice carrying easily across the vast space. "Any action against him is action against me." Tension filled the air like a drawn weapon. One of the officers stepped forward, taller even than the others, armor marked with symbols Elias guessed were honors earned through battle. "Commander," the officer said, "this violates—" "I am aware of the law," she replied calmly. "I am also its authority." Silence followed. The officer's gaze flicked toward Elias, sharp and burning. "He is nothing. His kind hides behind machines and numbers. They break easily." "Then you should have no fear of him," the commander said. The officer hesitated, then bowed stiffly and stepped back. Elias let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. The commander finally turned toward him. "You will walk with me." She did not wait for agreement. They moved through the ship together. No one blocked their path. Some watched with open dislike, others with curiosity. Elias felt like an object carried through a storm of thoughts and judgments he could barely understand. They entered a quieter section of the vessel, one built for command rather than combat. The walls here were smoother, the light softer. She stopped beside a window that looked out into the moving stars. "You see how they look at you," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "They don't like this." "No," she agreed. "They do not like weakness being raised." "Am I weakness?" Elias asked. She studied him again, not his size, but his eyes, his posture, the way he chose his words. "That remains to be proven." He accepted that answer. "Why me?" he asked. "You could have claimed anyone, one human among many." "You were not hiding," she said. "When your ship was struck, you did not flee. You pulled others to safety." "I was doing my job." "You were doing more than surviving," she said. "That matters." She gestured and the space around them changed. Light formed shapes in the air, stars, systems, borders marked by shifting lines. "This is the region your people have entered," she said. "You believe it empty. It is not." Elias recognized none of the names that appeared, but he understood the pattern. Human colonies sat like small sparks on the edge of something vast and dangerous. "They will come," she continued. "Some to conquer, some to consume, some to experiment." "And you?" Elias asked. "I came to decide," she said. The image shifted. Human ships appeared, small and fragile compared to the massive fleets around them. Yet they moved in strange ways, avoiding paths others favored, spreading unpredictably. "You adapt," she said. "You do not wait for permission." "That has always been true," Elias said quietly. "If I had not claimed you," she said, "another would have, and they would have used you to justify taking your world." Elias clenched his fists. "So Earth is safe because of me." "For now," she said again. The words were heavy. Elias felt the weight of them settle on his shoulders. He had wanted to be a diplomat, a bridge between species. He had not wanted to be a shield. "What do you expect from me?" he asked. "Honesty," she replied, "and perspective." She led him to a chamber filled with strange constructs, shifting shapes that responded to touch and movement. At the center hovered a battlefield simulation, stars and ships locked in frozen motion. "Show me how humans fight," she said. Elias hesitated. "With respect, Commander, you already destroyed us." "Not fully," she said, "and not with effort." He took a slow breath and stepped forward. He reached toward the simulation. The system responded, adapting to his touch. "This is how you expect us to fight," Elias said, moving the human ships into tight formations. "Strong lines, clear commands." He broke the formation. "This is how we actually fight," he continued. "We spread, we improvise, we survive by refusing to do what is expected." He adjusted routes, sacrificed positions to save people, turned weaknesses into traps. The simulation reacted. Alien ships faltered, their perfect strategies disrupted by chaos and stubborn resistance. The commander watched in silence. When the simulation ended, the room felt different. "You turn loss into time," she said slowly, "and time into opportunity. We don't always win," Elias said, "but we make sure losing costs something." A sound escaped her then, low and brief. Not laughter, but something close. "Interesting," she said. The door opened behind them. One of the guards entered, tense. "Commander, external factions have taken notice. They object to the claim." "I expected that," she replied. "They demand the human be surrendered," the guard continued. "Or they will challenge." The commander's eyes hardened. She looked at Elias. "This," she said, "is why I do not let go." Elias met her gaze, fear and determination mixing inside him. "Then I won't make you regret it." For the first time since he boarded the ship, she nodded. And far beyond the hull, unseen by human eyes, the galaxy began to pay attention. The challenge did not arrive with weapons. It arrived with words. A message spread through the ship like a cold wind. Elias did not see it at first. He felt it. The way the crew moved changed. Voices lowered. Steps became sharper, more controlled. The air itself seemed tighter, as if the ship was preparing to bite back. The commander stood before a wide projection of space, her hands resting calmly at her sides. Elias stood a few steps behind her, close enough to feel the strength in her stillness. "They will test me," she said, "not with force, with tradition." Elias watched symbols bloom in the air. Shapes twisted into meaning as the translation system struggled to keep up. "What kind of test?" he asked. "Approving," she replied. "They question my judgment, my claim. They believe I have weakened myself by protecting you." "And if they're right?" Elias asked. Her eyes shifted slightly toward him. "Then they will try to take what I claimed." The words sent a chill through him. The projection changed again. 3 massive vessels appeared, each different in design, each carrying the weight of an ancient civilization. Their presence alone made Elias feel small. These were not explorers. These were powers that had shaped regions of the galaxy long before humans had left their home system. "They demand a demonstration," the commander said. "A comparison." "Of what?" Elias asked, though he already sensed the answer. "Value," she said. "They wish to see what you offer that justifies protection." Elias swallowed. "So I'm the demonstration." "Yes." He nodded slowly. Fear pressed against his chest, but beneath it was something else. A familiar pressure, responsibility. He had felt it before on human ships facing impossible odds. "When?" he asked. "Now." They moved to a chamber unlike any Elias had seen before. It was vast and empty, its walls stretching upward into darkness. At the center hovered a complex field of light, shifting and alive. The chamber filled quickly. Representatives from the challenger factions appeared as towering projections, their forms sharp and imposing. Their eyes focused instantly on Elias. Disdain was not subtle. "So this is it," one voice echoed, layered and heavy. "This fragile thing." Another projection leaned closer. "You claim this creature is worthy of protection. Explain." The commander did not answer immediately. She turned to Elias. "Speak," she said. The room felt suddenly very quiet. Elias stepped forward. His legs felt heavy, but his voice held. "I am human," he said. "I am not a warrior like you. I am not ancient. I do not command fleets." Murmurs rippled through the projections, sharp and mocking. "But I come from a species that survives," he continued. "Not because we are the strongest. Not because we are the smartest, but because we do not stop adapting." A projection shifted, its shape flickering. "Empty words." "Then test them," Elias said simply. The commander's eyes narrowed slightly. The challengers paused. A new construct formed in the air. A scenario. A battlefield, complex and layered. "Very well," one of the challengers said. "Let the human mind face what ours mastered long ago." The simulation began. Elias studied it quickly. Multiple threats, limited resources, time pressure. It was unfair by design. Perfect. He smiled faintly. Instead of attacking, he pulled back. He let simulated forces retreat, sacrificing ground to protect people. The challengers reacted with visible confusion. Cowardice, one hissed. Then the environment changed. Traps triggered. Supply lines collapsed. Enemy forces overextended. Elias spoke as he moved. We lose ground to gain time. We gain time to learn. We learn and then we change the rules. He redirected resources, turned civilian structures into communication hubs, used weaknesses as bait. The simulation adjusted, pushing harder. Human forces bent. They did not break. Minutes passed, then more. Finally, the simulation froze. The room was silent. That outcome is inefficient, one challenger said at last. Yes, Elias agreed. But it works. Another projection shifted. You accept loss. We accept reality, Elias replied. Then we fight it. The commander stepped forward. You see now, she said. He does not command power, he creates it. The challengers withdrew slightly, conferring among themselves. One turned back. This proves nothing. Strategy alone does not justify protection. Then let us show them more, the commander said. She looked at Elias. Tell them about your people, he nodded. We come from a world that tried to kill us, he said. Storms, quakes, disease. Each generation faced extinction. Each generation adapted. Images appeared, Earth's history, wars, rebuilding, exploration. We fight each other, Elias continued. We make mistakes, but when faced with something greater, we unite in ways even we don't fully understand. The challengers watched in silence. You fear what you cannot control, Elias said. That is why you want us gone or owned, but we do not stay owned. A sharp sound cut through the chamber. One challenger flared brightly. Enough, it said. You are dangerous. The commander smiled. Yes, she said. That is the point. The projections faded. When the chamber finally emptied, Elias felt the strength leave his legs. He leaned against a nearby structure, breathing hard. They didn't agree, he said. They didn't need to, the commander replied. They hesitated. That's not victory, Elias said. For us, she said, it is. A warning tone echoed through the ship, not loud but urgent. They are watching, she continued, waiting for me to fail. Elias straightened. Then don't, she looked at him, truly looked at him. You are no longer just protected, she said. You are involved. I know, Elias replied. That's how humans survive. She nodded slowly. Outside the ship, messages spread, reports, rumors. A claimed human had stood before ancient powers and not broken. That idea unsettled the galaxy. And somewhere far away, humanity's shadow grew just a little longer. The galaxy did not react with noise or sudden war. It reacted with movement. Signals crossed long distances. Fleets adjusted their paths. Borders that had been stable for centuries began to feel uncertain. No weapons were fired, but pressure built everywhere, like a storm forming far beyond sight. On the warship, the change was impossible to miss. Elias felt it in the way doors sealed faster, in how crews trained longer hours, in how conversations stopped when he entered a room. He was not hated by all, but he was never ignored. He had become a symbol, and symbols made people uncomfortable. The commander did not hide him. Instead, she brought him closer. He stood beside her on the command deck as reports flowed in. He did not understand every detail, but he understood the tone. Threats wrapped in formality, challenges disguised as concern, offers that were not offers at all. They want compromise, Elias said quietly. They want ownership, the commander replied. They just use softer words. A new projection formed, showing a cluster of systems near human space. Red markers pulsed slowly. They are moving closer, Elias said. Yes, she said. Testing my resolve. And yours, Elias added. She glanced at him. You assume I doubt. I assume they hope you will, he said. She considered that, then nodded. Correct. An officer approached, armor marked with command symbols. Commander, a formal challenge has been issued. Collective authority demands arbitration. Elias felt his stomach tighten. What does that mean? It means, the commander said calmly. They want me to release my claim under law, and if you refuse, then I must justify it in a way even they cannot ignore. The officer hesitated. There is another option. The commander's gaze sharpened. Speak. They request the human's voluntary declaration, the officer said. If he chooses to remain under claim, responsibility shifts. Silence followed. Elias felt every eye turn toward him. What kind of declaration? He asked. One that binds, the commander said, not through force, through intent. Elias exhaled slowly. He had known this moment would come. The galaxy did not like gray areas. It demanded lines, ownership, clear answers. If I do this, Elias said, I'm no longer just protected, I'm choosing a side. Yes, she said, and you will be judged for it. By them, Elias said, and by your people, she added. That struck deeper. Elias asked for time. He spent it alone, standing before the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Blue, fragile, stubborn. He thought of cities that never slept, of colonies built from scrap and hope, of humans arguing even as they worked together to survive. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero, but he was here. If he refused, the commander would stand alone, her authority weakened. If he accepted, humanity would be pulled into galactic politics whether it wanted to be or not. He laughed softly. Humans never wanted trouble. Trouble always found them anyway. When he returned to the command deck, the commander was waiting. I will speak, Elias said. The chamber chosen for arbitration was larger than before, filled with projections of countless factions. This time the audience was wider, curious, suspicious, alert. Elias stepped forward. I stand here by choice, he said, not because I was taken, not because I was forced. A ripple moved through the projections. I do not belong to this commander, he continued. I do not belong to anyone. But I accept her protection because she offered it when others would have destroyed us. A voice cut in, sharp and cold. You trade freedom for safety. Elias shook his head. No, I use safety to protect freedom. Another voice echoed. Your species will grow dangerous. We already are, Elias replied. Not because we want to conquer, but because we refuse to disappear. The commander stepped beside him. This human does not weaken me, she said. He strengthens my claim to foresight. Humanity will exist. The question is whether the galaxy adapts or bleeds. Tension filled the space. One projection dimmed slightly. If humans remain independent, they will disrupt balance. Elias met its gaze. Balance that only works when everyone knows their place is not balance. It is control. Silence followed. At last the central authority spoke. The declaration is accepted. The claim stands. The chamber dissolved. Afterward the ship felt different, not lighter, sharper. Purpose had replaced uncertainty. Elias leaned against a wall, exhausted. So that's it. For now, the commander said. What happens next? He asked. Now, she said, we prepare. For war? Elias asked. For responsibility, she replied. Training began soon after, not physical combat but understanding. Elias sat through briefings on alien law, power structures, ancient conflicts. He spoke of Earth's politics, its divisions, its ability to argue endlessly and still come together when survival demanded it. Slowly, the commander's advisors began to listen. One day during a tactical discussion, Elias interrupted a long-standing doctrine. That won't work, he said. The room stiffened. Explain, the commander said. They'll expect strength, Elias said. So show them patience. Delay, let them overcommit. Humans learned long ago that endurance breaks stronger enemies. The simulation proved him right. Whispers spread again, different this time, not mocking, cautious. Elias was no longer just claimed, he was useful. One night as the ship drifted between stars, the commander stood beside him at the viewport. You could have refused, she said. I could have, Elias agreed. Why didn't you? He thought of Earth, of choice, of responsibility. Because someone had to stand up early, he said. So others don't have to later, she nodded slowly. The galaxy had not accepted humanity, but it had noticed. And that, Elias knew, was how every human story began. The first sign of change did not come as an attack. It came as silence. No new challenges arrived. No formal objections. The watchers who had circled at a distance slowed, then stopped. The galaxy, which had been leaning forward with suspicion, now waited. Waiting was dangerous. Elias understood that better than most. On Earth, pauses between disasters were when people either prepared or failed. He stood on the command deck beside the commander, watching stars slide past the viewport like quiet witnesses. "They're thinking," Elias said. "Yes," the commander replied. And thinking powers are the most unpredictable. Reports continued to arrive. Trade routes adjusted. Patrols rerouted themselves just far enough to avoid provocation. No one crossed the invisible line around human space. Fear had not disappeared. It had learned restraint. A message finally arrived from the Central Authority, not sharp or demanding but carefully balanced. It proposed recognition, not alliance, not dominance, recognition. Humanity would be classified as a sovereign developing power, protected from predation, conquest, and forced integration. The cost was simple: presence. "They want you to speak," the commander said, "not as mine, as human." Elias felt the weight settle fully now. Everything before had been preparation. This was the moment history bent. The gathering took place in neutral space. A station older than many civilizations hovered between star systems, its structure massive and slow, like a mountain taught to drift. Elias arrived not in chains, not guarded, but walking openly beside the commander. He wore a simple human uniform. No weapons. No symbols beyond the small emblem of Earth on his shoulder. The chamber filled with observers. Some he recognized from earlier challenges. Others were new, watching with eyes that measured futures rather than bodies. Elias stepped forward alone. "I speak for humanity," he said. The words felt unreal, but they held. "We did not come to the stars to threaten," he continued. "We came because staying still has never kept us safe." Images formed around him. Human colonies. Ships patched together from old designs and new hope. Cities built where no one thought life could exist. "We know we are small," Elias said. "We know we are young. But we are not fragile in the way you think." A voice echoed from the chamber. "You rely on protection." Elias nodded. "Yes, for now, just as every civilization once did." Another voice followed. "And when you no longer need it, then we will stand," Elias replied. "Not above you, beside you." Silence followed. Long, measuring. The Central Authority spoke at last. "Humanity will be recognized. Any act of aggression against it will be met as a breach of collective law." The decision rippled outward, faster than any fleet. Elias felt his knees weaken, but he stayed standing. The commander approached him afterward, her posture relaxed for the first time since he had met her. "It is done," she said. "For now," Elias replied, smiling faintly. She studied him. "You understand how this changes things." "Yes," he said. "Humanity will be watched," she nodded, "and judged." "We're used to that," Elias said. The journey back was quieter, no alarms, no tension in the air. The ship felt like it was exhaling after holding its breath for too long. When they reached the edge of human-recognized space, the commander stopped him near the platform where their story had begun. "My claim ends here," she said. Elias looked at her, surprised. "Just like that?" "It must," she replied. "You no longer need it." She removed her hand from his shoulder. The absence felt strange. "But understand this," she added. "The bond remains, not by law, by choice." Elias nodded. "Earth won't forget, neither would she." A human vessel approached, smaller than the warship but carrying something just as powerful: home. As Elias boarded it, he looked back once. The alien warship did not retreat. It remained, watching, guarding, not as an owner but as a witness. Back on Earth, news spread fast. Faster than fear, faster than disbelief. Humanity was no longer alone in the dark. Debates erupted. Celebrations followed. Arguments never stopped, but beneath it all was a quiet understanding. They had survived first contact, not by force, by being human. Elia stood before Earth's council weeks later, older in ways no mirror could show. He spoke of the galaxy, of danger, of opportunity, and when asked how it all began, he told them the truth. "It started when someone stronger decided we were worth protecting," he said. "And when we proved we were worth standing beside." Far away among the stars, the galaxy adjusted once more. Humanity had arrived, and it was not letting go.